Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. My name is Peter Martin with Michiana Voices for Middle East Peace, and we are delighted and most honored to receive this morning Archbishop Emeritus Elias Chacour. I know many of you will be familiar with him through his books and through his work, his lifetime's work of working towards justice and peace. As we hear his own story and as we bear witness to the horrors and catastrophe in Gaza, it's a reminder we are also encountering very much our own history, our own story on these lands which hold the memory of those who have been erased and cleansed from the land. And that the call to reconciliation, the call to justice, the call to peace depends on communities like ours who are willing to take on the postures and gestures of lament, repentance, repair, justice, and reconciliation. So the work in Palestine is also our work, and we're most honored that Elias Chacour has brought that work to us, that invitation to us this morning. So I'm going to turn it over to Asria Sharon, who is the chair of Pilgrims of Ibillin, which is the organization that supports Elias's work here in the United States. I'll turn it over to you, Asria.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you all for being here this morning. I'm going to actually just go up here to advance the slides. Excuse me. So I am Asria Sharon. I'm actually the executive director of Pilgrims of Ibillin, which is the nonprofit in the United States that works to support the work of Archbishop Emeritus Elias Chacour, which is primarily schools in a campus of schools in Ibillin. I'll give you a little bit of background though about Father Chacour and how he arrived here today. I'm actually going to sit down. It's a little bit easier to read my notes. So Archbishop Elias Chacour has accomplished quite a bit, and today's focus is his work in founding and developing Mar Elias educational institutions, which is a beacon of hope and peace in a region that is all too often defined by conflict. Father Chacour was born in Biram, a village in the Galilee, in 1939. His early life was marked by the pain of displacement when his village, Biram, which you can see in this picture, was destroyed when Israel was established. And this experience deeply influenced his commitment to peace and justice. And this slide is what the village of Biram looked like in 1949, just before it was destroyed. And unfortunately, this is the village today. The ruins of homes remain to this day, and village families are still petitioning the government of Israel for the right to move back to their village and rebuild their homes. Today, Biram is an Israeli national park, and so visitors can have picnics in the midst of the ruins of Father Chacour's village and homes. These early experiences inspired young Elias to pursue a path in the church, leading him to study theology in Paris and eventually to return to his homeland with a mission to foster peace through spiritual leadership and education. He was ordained in 1965 and was sent to a tiny Arab village in the Galilee, about 20 miles from the border with Lebanon. His bishop sent him there just for 1 month, and he has stayed almost 60 years and is still there to this day. Just to give you an idea of the lay of the land and where Arbuna's village is and Ibillin. So this is a map of Israel and Palestine, and you can see up very close to the Lebanese border is Biram, his home village, and Ibillin is just to the west of Tiberias and to the east of Haifa there. And Ibillin is the small village where he was sent for a month. When he arrived in Ibillin in 1965, there were no paved roads, no electricity. However, there were 2 churches and a mosque. This is a more current view of Ibillin with, you could see 2 churches and a mosque. The mosque, I believe, is on the far left. So Father Chacour has spent almost 60 years in Ibillin, bringing the community together. It was quite a divided community when he arrived in 1965. And he has always welcomed adherents of all faiths to join together and to rather than be bickering amongst themselves as he found them when he arrived. When he first arrived, he was not welcomed by the community or the church. The parish house had disintegrated due to neglect, and it was completely uninhabitable, so he did sleep in his VW bug off and on for the first few months of arrival. And with the help of several nuns from Nazareth, Arbuna opened a kindergarten in 1970, and he brought together the people in the town across religious lines because they all wanted what was best for their children. And out of this new building, he also established the first library in any Arab village in Israel, as well as a community center, and he also organized summer camps for children that attracted thousands of children. So today, the kindergarten for ages 3 through 5 now serves over 200 children, and his goal has always been to bring together students, Christians, Muslims, Druze, and Jews under one roof where they could learn not just academic subjects, but also values of tolerance and mutual respect. Has always been infused into the education and the curriculum at the schools at Mar Elias. Arbuna felt a special concern for the children of Ibillin. Half of the population were under the age of 14. And so he believed that that education was the key to breaking down barriers of hatred and misunderstanding. And also the low quality education, the local public schools in the villages, they stopped at the grade 8, or at least in Ibillin, they stopped at grade 8, and so teens were hanging out in the streets, idle, and even though the village population was 8,500 back in the early days, only 90 students went on to high school, and of those 90, only 5 of those were girls. So in the early 80s, after school, students, teachers, and other community members all joined together to build a new high school building on the barren hillside across a valley from Ibillin, the main town. So in 1981, the Mar Elias High School was opened. Initially, they used the kindergarten rooms until the high school building was constructed. And here's a picture of the 1984, the first graduating class of the high school. And here's an image of the current day high school. And this year, 850 students are enrolled in the high school, over 1,000 in elementary and junior high. And the total enrollment for the school, they start at 3 months and they go through age 18, is over 2,000 students. Father Chacour believes that when children of different faiths and backgrounds learn side by side, not only do they gain knowledge, but they also develop empathy and understanding, which are essential foundations for a more peaceful future. So the students, half of whom are Christian, the other half Muslim or thereabouts, they regularly engage with Jewish students in Israel, Israeli schools, to build bridges and break down barriers to friendship. And many people will ask, why are there no Jewish students at the school? And they're always welcome. There's no exclusion at all. It's just that, and Arbuna can tell us more, but it became very difficult when students had to be trained to be in the military, and they were being taught that their enemy was the very Palestinian students that they were going to school with. It became very challenging for a variety of reasons. So instead of having students be at the school, they do make an effort to engage with Jewish students on all sorts of different projects throughout the education. And students are fortunate to not only, have those opportunities to engage with people of other faiths, which is very unusual in Israel, but also the education is exceptional. They have excellent teachers who come from literally hours away in order to teach at Mar Elias. It's a very unique school, and teachers actually feel it's a privilege to have the opportunity to work at this school. So they have excellent teachers, state-of-the-art art labs, and learning tools, and as a result, the students routinely test their test scores, place them in the top 10 of Israeli schools across the entire nation, which they're the only Arab school to have, to be able to make that kind of claim. And therefore the students go on to be accepted at the top schools, not only in Israel, but in Europe and America as well. What began as a small initiative has blossomed into a comprehensive educational network with students from all over the Galilee and beyond, representing a microcosm of the region's rich but divided cultural mosaic. Also, this church is on the campus. It's the Church of the Sermon on the Mount, which is the largest Melkite Catholic church in Israel and Palestine. And here's the steps leading to the front entrance, and the steps have carved into them the Beatitudes, which are near and dear to Arbuna's heart. Archbishop Chacour's work with Mar Elias is a reflection of his deep commitment to peace, justice, and education. For decades, he's been bringing children and youth together to instill in them the virtue of loving thy neighbor and building peace together. So now it is a great honor to introduce Father Elias Chacour to tell you more about himself and his work. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is such an honor for me and a great responsibility to be in your presence, to share during this hour about our life, about our problem, and mainly about our hope for the present and for the future. I'm a survivor. I survived almost 15 wars in the small time of my life. I'm never getting older. I'm always getting more mature. So as a mature man, I'm happy to be with you. I used to speak with people while standing, a sign of respect. But since now I matured so much, I feel I have to sit down. Sorry. Technology is important.
I'll turn the volume up.
Yeah. Is it okay? It's better now. Okay. Except in the one. I allow myself to sit down because of my age only. I was born in a village, in a totally Christian village, And I remember the education I got from my parents, very especially from my mother. She used to come back in the evening after working hard on the fields with father, and I was waiting for her just to keep her busy, but she was so exhausted. She used to take me on her lap and told me stories, the story of Joseph, the story of David, the story of Jesus, of the apostles, of our forefathers. And she used to tell me, remember my child, our compatriot, Jesus Christ. We never only relate him to heaven, we related him to our own society. He was born from a lady from Nazareth, next to, close to us. Remember that our compatriot, Jesus Christ, did not come to teach us to sit idle and to contemplate peace. It's so easy to contemplate peace. He came us to be contractors, to go ahead, to move, to get our hands dirty, in order to make peace possible. And that is impossible, he said, without caring for justice. So justice and peace are two important values linked together. It's impossible to have peace without justice. It's impossible to have justice without peace. This is I learned from my mother. I make a long story short. After a while, my father told us, children, there are rumors going on that in a few days we will have Jewish soldiers coming to our village. Be not scared of them. They do not kill, they don't bother anybody, they're nice people. Even they have machine guns, but they don't use it. And now they learn to use it. He said they are survivals of a satanic plan aimed at killing all the Jews. And thank God, the plan was destroyed and the Jews were saved. And some would be coming to our village. We'll slaughter the Easter lamb to make a big banquet to welcome them. And I will invite them, said Father, to sleep in our beds. And you with Mother, you will sleep on the roof of the house. After a few days, they started arriving. They had heavy machine guns. They did not kill anyone. They did not bother anyone. They accepted our food and they slept on our beds while we slept on the roof of the house. By the way, in Galilee, it's so beautiful to sleep on the roof of the house. If you don't sleep, fine, count the stars. You will count 100, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 stars. Our sky is full of stars. Not like your stars, your sky. You have no stars. You never see them. You always see in front of you. But we raise our heads and we count the beautiful stars that God created for us. Don't go sleep on the roof of the house here, please. You will be frozen. In Galilee, you will count the stars and you will be happy. After 2 weeks, the officer of the Israeli army ordered all heads of families to come and see him. They came the next morning and he gave them the orders. You have to take wife and children and go away for 2 weeks, wherever you want. After 2 weeks, you can't come back. And he gave them a military written promise that in 2 weeks they will come back. We left the village to a hillside from where we could see our houses in front of us. I remember when I left home, I had a small blanket on my shoulder. That's all I could take. For us children, that was like paradise. To spend the day under the trees, to climb the trees up and down, to eat figs, to eat grapes, to eat all all these beautiful fruits of Galilee and to catch birds also. After 2 weeks, it became boring. We started nagging our father. Go and see the army. They promise you in 2 weeks you might come back. We want to go back home. We pressured all the fathers so much that they met together and they decided to go down to the village to meet with the officer of the army. We waited for their return. We waited long time. We waited and waited. They never came back. We did not know what happened to them. Were they killed? Were they imprisoned? Did they escape to nearby Lebanon? We have no clue. So we left from under the trees and went to the closest village where there were still some inhabitants there. And we found a room for our family, 35, 40 square meters. And we lived in that room, 11 persons. Every evening, mother would gather us and she would pray for the government, asking God to change the heart of stone that they had and to place them with hearts of flesh. She would pray for her bishop. She would pray for her children. And she never forgets to pray for the safe return of her husband. 3, 4 months later, while we were praying, someone pushed the door because the house we had could not be locked, it can be closed. Pushed the door, and it was Father. We thought it was his ghost. We hurried to hug him. Father, you stay here. We want you, don't go away. And he kept saying, quiet down. I'm coming to stay, not to go. He told us what happened to them. It was a very hectic trip because when they took them with the military trucks, they drove them to the faraway city of Nablus in the West Bank, just before the borders. And the army told them, this land does no more belong to you. What if someone would come and tell you, Goshen does no more belong to you? Go away wherever you want. What would you not do against them, even if you are Mennonites? This land does no more belong to you. Go wherever you want. Do not come back. If you try to trespass the borders, you will be killed immediately. And they went across the Jordan River. Don't ask me which kind of boat that they use. This is the river I know where you can cross it sometimes barefoot without wetting your feet. And they went to Pella. Pella was the place where the old Christians left Jerusalem the year 68 after Christ and took refuge beyond the river in a place called Pella. But they were not able to stay there. They left and went to Syria, to Damascus, and they built the 2 first Christian villages, Ma'lula and Sidnaya, from where Christianity spread to Turkey and to Europe and came to Goshen as well. So in one sense, you are all our children. We are the children of the first Christians. So did Father. They went to live in Amman, but Amman was a miserable village, very dirty, very poor, nothing to live there. So they walked all through to Damascus. And there they discovered the tragedy of the Palestinian people. Hundreds of thousands of refugees were there. They could not find a place to stay, so they went westwise toward the city of Beirut, and they became the Palestinian Arab refugees. These Palestinian Arab refugees, sometime later, the press would delete Palestinians, and they were reduced to Arab refugees in Lebanon. Years later, after that, one of the presidents of the United States came to Israel, and in order to flatter the Israeli politicians, he addressed his speech to the Palestinians in Lebanon and in the Arab countries. You refugees, stop being refugees. Go wherever you want. You have no right to return. You have no hope to return to Palestine. Thank you, Mr. President. It was George W. Bush. We know that he climbed such a high tree, and he forgot that he's just a bush. He used to speak in the name of God. May God forgive him. Father knew the way back home, because we are close to the borders. He took some of his friends and they infiltrated back. That's how we discovered him. We discovered what happened to him. My father was a very, very staunch believer in non-violence. He educated us to reject any kind of violence, verbal or physical. But he did not stay quiet. He has the promise of the army to return back. He convinced the remains of the refugees in that village, let us raise funds and go to court, to the Israeli court, for our right to return. I think this was the first file ever filed against the state of Israel in the Israeli court. The resolution was in their favor. These are good people, they have the right to return. But the army opposed. Seems that the army have no religion. 1 year later, they went back to the Court of Justice. Second resolution, they're in their favor. The army still opposed. Third time in 51, the third resolution was in their favor. They are peaceful people, they have the right to return. We decided we will return no matter what the army says. We have the Supreme Court decision in our hands. We did not know that for the army there's no religion, no court, and no justice. There's a will to do, and they do whatever they want. We walked 5 kilometers distance from where we were back home to our village. We're about to enter the homes when planes came from we don't know where and started raining bombs, explosives, dynamites on our homes, our church, and they destroyed the whole village. It became the predecessor of Gaza. We stood there and we cried so much that the place was named the Barham People Wailing Wall. It's still the name. When I go back to visit the ruins of my father's house, I stand in that place of Wailing Wall, I have tears in my eyes. My father was a very religious man. He wanted that one of his children becomes a priest. So he sent my elder brother to higher seminary in Jerusalem. The boy stayed 3 months and escaped. He did not want to hear about that business of priesthood. He formed a beautiful family. 2 of his children are living now in South Bend, Indiana. Every morning, they phone their fathers to say, how are you? And to pray with him on the telephone. Their father, my elder brother, is now 99 years old. We will celebrate, God willing, his 100th anniversary in less than a year. He has a clear mind, very good health, has hardship to walk, but he's very, very alert. My second brother threatened to commit suicide if father would send him to seminary. So he escaped. The third one went home and crossed the river and went to Jordan, lived with the Bedouin tribe.
Father looked for his whereabouts. He found him. He went to the dignitary to ask them, please give me my child back. They said, here is your child. If he wants to go back with you, let him go. But if he doesn't want, he's under our protection. You can't do anything with him. Father asked him to come back. He said, Father, I will not come back with you. If I come back, you will send me to seminary. And I don't want to go to seminary. He promised in front of the dignitaries that he will not send him to seminary. So he brought back his child. Who remained? The youngest. And I was the youngest. The bishop father delivered me to the bishop, who took me to Haifa, where I had my elementary school education. And then in Nazareth, I finished the high school, and the bishop had to find for me somewhere where I could learn for priesthood, philosophy, theology, Bible, and all these things. He applied for a permit for us to cross the borders to Old Jerusalem, which was already in Jordan, and applied for an exit visa from Israel to go to Jordan. The answers came within weeks from both sides. The Jordanians said, we cannot allow Arabs already contaminated with Zionist ideology to come and live in our society. Israel responded, we cannot allow our Arabs, like you say, my dog and my cat, our Arabs, to go live in an Arab society and come back with contaminated with Arab ideology. So for the ones I am Zionist, for the others I am an Arab. The bishop has to find a way. He had to send me either to Rome or to Paris. And I had a very clever bishop. I thank God for his decision not to send me to Rome, but to Paris. And in Paris, I spent 6 years. What did they not teach us at the Sorbonne and at the Institut Catholique? Everything that has to do with priesthood, Bible, church history, Mariology, angelology, psychology, everything, name it all. After 6 years, I returned back home. By then, I had forgotten everything. I remembered one thing from 6 years of studying in Paris. I remember that God does not kill. God is love. All the rest is a commentary. I became priest. And 1 week later, the bishop said, you need to serve the community. I said, yes, I'm ready. He said, I will send you for 1 month to a village called Ibillin. It's closer to Haifa. Take the car you brought with you from Germany and go to Ibillin. After 1 month, we'll decide your final assignment. And I looked for that Ibillin. I drove 1.5 hours to discover where that Ibillin was. I could not find it. Suddenly I was facing the Sea of Galilee. I was lost. I went to a gas station and asked the people there, gentlemen, does any of you know where Ibillin is? Only one knew. He said, I know, you are far away now. Go back, it's closer to Haifa. I went back and I discovered where Ibillin was. It's a village with dirt road, no electricity. They received water twice a week. I did not mind. I minded to find where my residence is. I looked for the church. I found the church. It's a building in the middle of nowhere. Few children were playing there. Children, do you know where is the residence of the priest? They said, the priest has no residence here. And laughed sarcastically. I said, they don't know, I will wait. I waited in front of the church for some others to pass by, and 3 old men, they all died now. They were passing by. I accosted them. Please tell me, where is the residence of the priest? I said, well, sorry, the priest has no residence here. But what did my predecessor do? And he said, your predecessor long time did not come back. He used to come on Sunday morning before the Eucharist, celebrate the Eucharist, disappear, and we did not know where he lived. It was a hard moment for me. Did I study 6 years to come to a village where I have nowhere to rest? I'm not Jesus Christ to accept having no stone to lay his head on. I wondered if I should not leave, get married, have children, and have a normal life like everyone else in the world. Or continue with this priesthood. After my rage subsided, I decided to stay. I said 1 month I can pass it as well as I can. And I decided to sleep in my Volkswagen bug. I ended by sleeping 6 months in the Volkswagen bug. It was very comfortable then. You know why? Because then I was not even half of what I'm now. I put on weight. The bishop forgot me, and I forgot myself there. It's my 68 years that I'm waiting for that month to end. I met with my patriarch, who was my archbishop, in Beirut in the 90s, and he told me, I'm contemplating to take you away from Galilee, to promote you. I said, I don't want to live outside Galilee. I'm born there to die there. He said, what do you think? God is from Galilee? I said, yes, Patriarch. God is from Galilee. He laughed as you laughed. Ibillin, I did not mind sleeping in the Volkswagen. I tried, first of all, to do something that does not cost me any money. To go and visit all the families, starting with the Muslim families. And you don't know how the Muslim appreciated the entrance of a Christian priest to their family, telling them, I'm coming to serve you. I'm your at disposal. The bond with the Muslims remained so strong up till now. And I visited all the Christian families as well. My visit to the families was my major task. Every day I would spend 4-5 hours visiting families. Everywhere I got, I had to drink a cup of coffee. Not your coffee, our Arab coffee, which is half mud and half water. I drank every day 10 to 15 cups of coffee. I lost that sleep, but no more sleep, headache. So I decided never to drink coffee. And up till now, I drink very little coffee. What can I do else? I donated my books in Arabic to start a small public library. And every time I go to Nazareth or to Bethlehem, I found somewhere to buy books. I would buy books and add to the library. I never imagined that this small project would become in the future the large library of Mar Elias Educational Institutions. What could I do more than that? I decided we have so many kids. Over 70% of our population was under 14 years old. So I decided to give my life to this young generation, which represent presently the future for our society. I could do very little. I organized summer camps. That's so innocent. And we had a family, Mennonite family. You probably know the name by now. John and Sandra Lamb were living with us as volunteers. And there they had their first child, the only child born in the campus. The first year we had about 1,000 children in the summer camp. And that repeated itself every year. The last summer camp was almost 5,000 children from all the villages around in Galilee. Many of them were Muslims, many of them were Christian. It was an important moment for me to teach them to live together, to share their life, to discover the friend in the other, than to be suspecting him to be a possible enemy. In the year 80, the community started pressuring me. Stop having summer camps. You're spending all your money on children. We want you to spend money building a high school for us. And I was convinced they were right. We stopped the summer camp and we started working for a school. We had a small piece of land belonging to the church on a mountain called the Mount of Ogre. I climbed there and told them this mountain will no more be named the Mount of the Ogre. It will be named the Mount of Light, Jabal al-Nur. To build a school, I needed a building permit. So I applied for a building permit. But 2 weeks later, the denial came. You are not allowed to build. I said, goodness, I need the school. Who has the right to forbid me building a school for our kids? I will build with no permit and case surah surah. We started the construction. The money I did not have. I was studying in the Hebrew University. And they used to invite me to greet any international guest to the campus. And once the Princess of Holland was visiting the campus, and the deacon of the university invited me to greet her. I went to greet her. I told her, I hope your majesty is not afraid of me. She said, why should I be afraid of you? I said, I'm a Palestinian. I'm labeled to be a terrorist, like the Jews were labeled to be dirty Jews, for the same reason. She laughed and said, I'm not afraid. I love you. I said, you owe me some money, and I'm coming to claim that money back. She said, how can I owe you money? I said, 1952, before you were born, the dikes broke in Holland. And most of the country was 4 meters underwater. My bishop told us to go on the streets of Haifa to raise funds to help the poor Dutch people. And I raised $154. I gave to my bishop, who gave them to the Dutch ambassador in Haifa, in Tel Aviv. I want that money back. Said, what for? I said, I want to build a school. I have no money. Said, tomorrow you will hear from me. Next morning, I received a check for 40,000 gulden. The gulden was the Dutch money. Each gulden is worth a little bit more than $1. Enough to make the drawings and to start the building. I ended by having 1,460,000 gulden from the Dutch government because of Princess Beatrix. She's now the queen. While building the school, 3 months later the police arrived. Where is your building permit? I said, I don't have it. How can you build without building permit? I said, I never built with building permit. You denied me that. I built with sand, cement, steel, stone, wood, and so on. He was angry. He said, you don't do like that in a civilized country. I said, I wish you were civilized enough. You would have given me a building permit. But I built without building permit in order to help you become a little bit more civilized. He was utterly angry. He could have killed me. He said, stop arguing. You'll go to jail, to court, and the building will be destroyed. Okay, sir. He turned and disappeared. As soon as he was out of sight, we resumed the work. 9 months later, the building was standing ready, strong and beautiful. In the beginning of September, I rang a small bell, and 92 children came to school. They were boys and girls, very few girls. 4 teachers, 1 lady and 3 men. And we continued. Let me jump 20 years ahead. I became the happiest man in Galilee, absolutely happiest. Because every morning I greeted over 4,000 students. It's unbelievable. I always tell the students, this school is opened, although it's a church school, it's not a denominational school. It's open not only for Christians, not for Muslims or Jews. It's open for all those who were born babies. I used to tell them, to remind them, even now, I'm the Archbishop of Galilee, the head of the church in Galilee. But I was not born a Christian, thank God. I don't know about you, were you all born Mennonites? Or you are like me? I was born a baby. With a certain dignity, with yearning for freedom and for peace. No one is allowed to deprive me from my dignity. And so were you, my Muslim friends. We accepted Muslim students in our society. Now we have 65% of our students are Muslims. They are not welcomed as guests to our school. They are not coming tolerated to our school. We consider them de facto in our life, in our practice, to be our partners, full partners. We don't want a Muslim to become a Christian, because we will be confused. To what Christian should be consulted to do? To be Mennonite, but the Mennonites are now divided. To be reformed, re-reformed, or not reformed, he better stay a Muslim, be a good Muslim. And we want the Christians to be proud of their faith and to respect it. The children always became more and more, and the registration became impossible. Every September we have a problem, whom to accept and whom not to accept. And many who would like to be registered, we did not accept because there is no place at all. So is the situation today. It's a school where we teach our children it's important to create unity within the diversity. To be different does not mean to be opponents, but it's a new opportunity for us to discover new friends in a Muslim boy or in a Christian boy. Discover the friend in the other, unity within diversity. When I see the children in the school or the teacher, I tell them, all this campus has been built for you. When you see me, give me a smile of hope. And we need hope. And hope is escaping from us, escaping so rapidly, so strongly, that we are confused how to pay the 200 teachers and employees in the school. We used to receive a subsidy from the government. 75% of what a Jewish child receives every month. Since the war came, all that has been reduced. We receive maximum 35 to 37%. We have problem paying our teachers. We have problem continuing. And this is the problem for all our Christian schools. All the reform that the government makes goes exclusively to Jewish governmental schools, excluding the Christians from that. And we want some people who have power, who have guts, who have relations, to convince your congressmen your senators, to remind us that they have to care for the Christians, to pay them as they pay the governmental schools. We pay our taxes. We serve the government as everybody else does. Why the discrimination should continue like that? Now we are facing a very difficult situation. And here I must express my gratitude for the so-called Pilgrims of Ibillin, a group of friends who was created in Grosse Pointe Memorial Church in order to help the hundreds of visitors who come to visit us to donate some money and to have refund back. And we found 501. And because of this organization, we are able to dare create a development activity in the school to buy more computers, to build the safe rooms for the war, and to provide scholarships for needy students. We take a very little fee from the parents. That is not enough. And now with the cancelling of the subsidies we have, that becomes something symbolic. And we are very worried. If we close the schools, as it is now the danger, that means the churches will lose all contact with the young generation. We have no contact with them. We will be disappearing because our school is helping us to be an active factor in the society. We graduated also already from the school 10,420 students. Among them, 500 medical doctors, 270 lawyers, and many other professions. Everywhere I go, to the hospital or to the business or the shopping, I find alumni. When they see me, they come and greet me with so much affection. They say, we don't forget the speech you gave us every morning. And I continue to give that speech in the morning for 10 minutes. I speak about our dignity. I speak about our being born babies, about the complementarity that we have to discover in being in touch with each other. I don't deal with politics. If I deal with politics, I will be losing my time. I deal with my students. I educate my students, the young generation today, which represents the presence of our tomorrow. And they are great guys. We started with 4 teachers and 1 lady. Now in the elementary school, we have 85 teachers. Only 3 men and all the rest are ladies. That's a big change that happened. In the high school, the same thing. 10 or 15 men and all the other teachers are ladies. We are proud of them. They are so dedicated. They are making miracles. We are a school known all over Israel. In the Technion, the high university school of the Haifa Technion, after 25 Arab Israelis are accepted every year, 11 to 13 are from our school. We are a very large school. In the elementary level, we have 1,150 children. In the high school, 800. In the kindergartens, we have altogether 300 children. And in the nursery was the miracle of the school. All our teachers are still young. They make children. They're confused what to do with their child when he's big. So we open a nursery for them. They bring their child to the nursery, go teach, take their child and go back home. And I'm proud of that nursery. I see them the first every morning. I greet them and I love them. We had the visit of the President of the State of Israel to the village. I was to welcome him first. I said, Mr. President, you have a candle that you lit, it's light, in the big darkness that prevails in Israel, because our education is to be enemies to the Palestinians, and the Palestinians enemies to us. You are holding a candle of hope. Please do not extinguish it, but multiply it. Otherwise, if we continue educating our people to fanaticism and to segregation, we will be doomed to disappear. I meet with many people. Another meeting with the presidents of the State of Israel while I was acting bishop in Haifa. I invited 120 Arab Christian intellectual people to meet with the president. I stood there in welcoming him. I said, I am very honored to welcome you in our home. I dare remind you that I am a refugee from Bar'am. Bar'am was destroyed by the Israeli army, and the Bar'am people are still alive, waiting the implementation of the decision of the High Court of Justice. He interrupted me, saying, Arbuna, you left Bar'am when you were a young boy. I said, I did not leave it. I was expelled. You were expelled, okay, but you were very young, and it was long ago. You did not forget that you are from Bar'am. When are you going to forget that you are a native from Bar'am? I looked at Shimon Peres and said, Shimon, you were expelled from Palestine 2,000 years ago, not by the Palestinians, but by a Roman emperor. And we were there, and we still are here, waiting for your return. You come back, reduce our life to misery. Tell me, when are you going to forget that Palestine is also your homeland? He answered me one thing, touche. What for touche? I don't need that. But that's the situation. We depend on our determination to be united together. And on one of the murals in the auditorium, we wrote in big letters, together and only together we are stronger than the storm. And here, being in the Mennonite community, I tell you that I had relation with you Mennonites since the early 70s. We almost always had some Mennonite volunteer coming to work for us. We share the same spirituality of non-violence, of tolerance. I hate tolerance, by the way. I'm not a tolerant people. Because tolerance might mean two things. Lady, I tolerate you. Wait till I find the final solution to get rid of you. That's tolerance. I don't tolerate you. I accept you. I need you. You're important for me. You help me to define who I am. I remember what was written in the Bible. The first question God asked human beings, where is your brother? And I want to ask you this question. Where is your brother, the Palestinian? How seriously we care for us. I don't want you to be peace-loving people. I want you to be peace contractors. People who believe in justice toward peace. Peace in itself does not exist. Peace can exist only through justice. And if you believe in justice, you can hope for peace. And we want you to be people who believe in working for justice. And who better than you understand that? We need to work for justice in order to have peace. Peace and justice are two entities that form happy human life. I once wanted to have some Jewish children in the school, because I always pretended the school is open for everybody, for everyone who was born baby. And do you know that the Jews are all born babies? Like us. I wanted some Jews to come. I spent the year 1099, visiting Jewish kibbutzim, Jewish villages around the village. And I was able to convince 80 Jewish families to send their children to us. At the beginning of September, I was standing there greeting the newcomers, as I do every day. I greet the little children, good morning, how are you? Are you happy to come to church? How are your parents? Are they happy? Did you sleep well? We are happy to have you at home. That's all I tell them, and they relate to that so affectionately. I was greeting all our students when at the end I saw the bus coming down with the Jewish children. I said, what did I do? Did I bring the devil to my campus? How can I deal with these Jews? They are all children from families who confiscated our land, who destroyed our village. We have so many claims. How can we deal with them? The bus arrived. I ordered the driver to keep the door closed. And I looked at that bus and said, now, how will you deal with these children? They're coming to be your children. Can you impart love to them as to other children, or you will treat them as Jews? I did not answer. I rushed to the door, opened the door of the bus, and I told the children, now you are welcome. You will not go into classrooms. There are 3 buses waiting for you to take you with your other friends, our children, the Palestinians, to go spend the day in the open air on Mount Carmel, which is close by. When you come back, we'll see what we can do with you. I was released. They all get away with the teachers to Mount Carmel. I was waiting for their return at 4 in the afternoon to see how many Jewish children were ill-treated, were not well received, were bothered. The doors of the buses opened. No one went down the stairs, up, outside. They all jumped like little monkeys from the bus. They forgot in one day that they are Jews and Palestinians, Muslim, Christian, and Jews. They discovered that they were just children. And from that time on, I promoted the idea of living together, Jews, Palestinian, Christian, Palestinian, Muslim, and Druze, around the same table, discovering the same problems, facing the same new elements, and solving the common problems. Whenever we have children around the same table, studying together, learning together, we can ask them to write together the plan of their future. But all the time, we are scattered, each one on his table. Each one will write his plan for the future, and that would not come together with other plans. Unfortunately, the Jewish children in our school in the grade 9 was excellent. The problem started in the 10th grade, when they were convoked to pre-military training. That was fine still. One of them told me, the teacher told us that we will become soldiers when we are adult, when we graduate, to defend our country from the surrounding terrorists. I said, who did he say that the terrorists are? And the child said, all the Palestinians are terrorists. Imagine a child having this indoctrination today, and tomorrow will go to school with thousands of Palestinian children. He will look at each one as a potential terrorist. In the 11th grade, things became more difficult. Not only they have 1 day, but 1 month of proper military training. In the 12th grade, also that much time, 1 month pre-military training, as it is impossible to continue that. We have no more Jewish children, but we kept the Jewish teachers. One of them graduated only a few months ago. We want to live together. We have no chance to survive alone, neither Jews nor Palestinians. We need to convince the Jews and to convince ourselves that our survival depends on our being together, Jews and Palestinians. The land does not belong to us. Palestine does not belong to the Jews. It does not belong to the Palestinians. Palestine belongs to God, and we are sojourners on the land. We are passing by. Unless we cross together, we will have no chance to survive. And Isaiah was not a Palestinian. He says in his first 5 chapters, woe to those who join one home to another home, who confiscate one piece of land after the other, till they believe that the land is theirs, exclusively theirs. No, says the Lord of Israel, they will be vomited out from the land, naked as when they born from their mother. And we don't want the Jews to be thrown away. We don't want the Jews to die, but we don't want to be killed by the Jews either. When any American believes in violence, takes his rifle, goes to a school, to a church, and kills so many people, you know about that. We never concluded that American is a terrorist nation. You have many more terror acts in 1 year here than in 2 years in Palestine. We never concluded that you are a nation of terrorists. We concluded poor Americans, they have a problem with terrorism. But when a Palestinian living in Gaza or in Lebanon and deprived from his home, from his land, knowing that his home was destroyed, and despairs from life, and decides to commit suicide, what do you say? Palestinians are terrorists. No, it's too much. Palestinians cannot be terrorists. They are people who always welcome people from abroad. Palestine was the welcoming people. We love to have foreigners come to us. We love to welcome the foreigners. But we are labeled terrorists. There is no terrorist nation, my dear friends. The Jews are not a terrorist nation. The Palestinians are not a terrorist nation. There are terror among all people. Unfortunately, the overwhelming education now in Israel goes towards more right-wing people, more fanatic, more antagonistic people. That's why they can allow themselves to destroy all of Gaza. Once they finished, they started with the destruction of Lebanon. That cannot be God's will. Because God does not kill. Do you hear me, please? God does not kill. God is not. We need to continue witnessing our determination to raise our flag. We have a flag, we Christians. And we Christians in Palestine, we have very special flags. We need to raise it now, when Muslims and Jews are fighting, killing each other, massacring each other. We need to raise our voice high, saying, love your enemy, bless your those who curse you, do good to those who do not want you. And this is our flag. It's a contradictory to what happens on. You cannot raise the flag of love your enemy and go bombard the people of Gaza or attack Israel or attack Lebanon. That goes against humanity. That reduces us to the old Latin proverb, man is wolf to his other man. We don't want to be wolves to each other. I spend months in the year reminding our students, when you say someone else, a Muslim or a non-Christian with you in the school, do not be afraid of him. He is not a potential enemy. He's a potential friend. Try to discover the friend in him. And it's so beautiful. I will challenge you if you come here. I will take you to a classroom. You will tell me who is Christian, who is Muslim. I'm sure you will point to many Muslims being Christian and to many Christians being potential Muslims. We don't distinguish who is whom. We spend our time educating them that we have to create unity within diversity. That together, and only together, we are stronger than the storm. We'll continue. I don't know how. I built a school without building permits. I had to face the government. For years, I used to go to court. I was in court 37 times, always for building permit. Well, I ended by having the upper hand. Once, while building the gymnasium, and I'll end with that, they told me, your plans are perfect, you will have the building permit, but bear with us, our bureaucracy is so slow. I understood they will not give the building permit. So I left them busy with slow bureaucracy, and I got myself busy with fast building. We were constructing the gymnasium, and 1 year later the police came. Mr. Chacour, you don't have yet your building permit. I said, yes, sir, I don't have it. He said, in the name of Israel, I order you to stop building. If you add one stone, the building will be immediately destroyed, and you will be going to prison. It was too serious. We stopped the building. And I tried it knocking on doors. I knocked on hundreds of doors of Jewish personalities whom I can't reach, begging them to help me have the building permit. No one refused to listen, but no one moved a finger to it. After 6 years, I got total despair. You will have never your building permit. Your building will never be ready. If you ask something, you will be in prison. One evening I was praying. I had this crazy idea. I have many crazy ideas. Why, boy, you look for building permit in Jerusalem, where you have no hope to obtain a building permit? Why don't you go to Washington? It's the closest way to get your building permit. Next morning, I bought a flight ticket, flew to Washington, D.C., landed at National Airport. You probably know National Airport is not in the surrounding of Washington. It's in the middle, center of Washington. I landed at National Airport. It was before 9/11. I rented a car and drove to Vauxhall Road number 15 to the residence of U.S. Secretary of State. Parked the car and went to the entrance door, knocked on the door, Secretary of State was not at home. His wife came herself to open the door. Not because I was arriving there, not to welcome me, but because she was expecting the arrival of a few more American ladies to her residence. And here I was. I don't look like a lady with this beard. I don't look like a relaxed American citizen. I was very tense. I'm knocking on the door of the Secretary of State of America. It's not something simple. She said to me, "Who are you?" I said, "Madame, I am another man from Galilee." You know, when you say the man from Galilee, you mean Jesus Christ. When you dare say, "I am another man from Galilee," either you are too daring, or you are crazy, or you're mad, or you're abnormal. I said, "I'm another man from Galilee." She said, "Do you have an appointment with us?" I said, "Madame, we men from Galilee, we never make appointments, we make appearances." Poor Susan Baker. She did not know what to do with me. She would not let me in, she could not kill me out. She invited me to the right side door, which gave right into their kitchen. They have a huge kitchen. I could spend my life without needing anything. But she decided to give me something to drink. I don't know how you drink that, you American. Your problem, not mine. But I don't like that. She gave me a glass of iced tea. I swallowed that liquid in less than a minute. When she said, "Now you have your refreshment." What kind of refreshment? "I need to let you go." And she was leading me to the exit door. When I reached the exit door, she said, "I'm sorry I could not give you more time because I'm busy with 20 American ladies. We are having a Bible study hour." I said, "What kind of Bible study hour?" He said, "We are having a look on the so-called Sermon on the Mount." I pity you, good luck. "Why do you pity me?" I said, "What will you be able to understand from that sermon? It's not an American who wrote it. And it's not written in English. It's a peasant next door to my village who wrote that sermon. And he did not write in your English. He wrote in my Semitic language. I pity you, ma'am." She looked at me and said, "I see. Can you help us understand it better?" Oh, Mama mia. What could I expect better than that? I was reintroduced, not to the kitchen, but with the ladies. I spent almost 2 hours explaining what I understand with the 8 first verses of the Sermon on the Mount, that you call them sometimes the blessing, sometimes the beatitudes. After almost 2 hours, I invited these ladies to go back home, to convince their husbands to work for peace and justice. And they had to need the courage to get their hands dirty for peace and justice. Otherwise, they will have no justice and they will have no peace as we have no peace. And I left the bakers to the hotel, leaving 2 copies of my books, Blood Brothers and We Belong to the Land. Went to the hotel for 1 night and then back home. I was that crazy to come for 2 days to the United States. I was so crazy to be able to travel to Australia for 3 days and come back. I was obsessed to make the whole world know who we are for the sake of my people who has been up till now voiceless, ignored and neglected. A week after I left the bakers, I was in my little office. The telephone rang. "Hello?" It was Susan Baker. Said, "Is Father Chacour, can we pray together?" I said, "Yes, why not?" And she started praying for several minutes, as if she was ready. When she stopped, I said few words only. This operation repeated itself 3-4 times a month. She would phone and say, can we pray together? After 2 months, I ceased being this foreigner who knocked on our door. This fellow, bearded fellow, who came to us unannounced. I became the Arbuna for the baker. Because you will see in Blood Brothers, I'm called Arbuna. In Arabic it means our father. She told me what happened later on. When I left them with the 2 copies of my books, she said, I took Blood Brothers, started to read the introduction. I was taken by that. I stayed reading that book from the evening till 7 in the morning, sitting on that chair. I was mesmerized. That's why I call you Arbuna, with the affection you deserve. After 3 months, I remembered that I went to Washington, not in order to drink iced tea, or to speak with God on the telephone, or to explain the certain amount. I went there because I needed what? A building permit. You remember? So I called the baker for the first time. Susan was always on the other end of the line. She's a lady who is ready to help anybody who addresses himself to her. She's an astonishing lady. She said, what can I do for you, Father Chacour? I said, either you help me, or you have to come and visit me in prison. She said, why? What have you done? I think nothing bad. It's the government who's doing every bad thing, forbidding me to build up the gymnasium. I told her the story of the gym. She said, don't worry, Arbuna. When we finish speaking, I will sit down and write a letter to Premier Shamir, asking him, begging him, and between us, ordering him to give you a building permit. A message from heaven for me. She wrote a 2-page type letter, waited for her husband to come back home in the evening, showed him the draft. He said, Susan, you will not send that. If you send it, that might create a diplomatic crisis between Israel and the United States. They don't mind if it happens, but we mind too much to let it happen. He took the draft, went to his office, read it, and half an hour later, he called Susan. Can you come, please? What do you want? He said, do you agree to sign this letter? And I will co-sign it with you. I promise you, when I go to Jerusalem in a few weeks, I will not leave Jerusalem without visiting Premier Shamir's office and having the permit in my hands. 2 weeks later only, he was back in Jerusalem for the famous negotiations of the 2-state solution that never came to be reality. He had 1 day to rest before he flies back. During that day, he asked to visit Shamir in his office. It was not in the schedule, but he asked that they have to comply. The American Secretary of State. They took him to Shamir's office. He knocked on the door, opened, and Shamir was waiting under the table. Under the table? Yes, under the table. He's the only prime minister in the world who never lived around the table. You know why? Because he was too short. That's the only reason. But he was a tough leader. Welcome, Mr. Baker. And Jim Baker said, I'm coming to ask you a favor, Mr. President. He said, you ask me a favor? We are continually asking you for favors to survive. And you come to ask me a favor? And Baker said, yes, I'm coming to ask you for a favor. What do you need? And James Baker said, I need a building permit for my friend Chacour in the village of Ibillin. Shamir asked, what's the problem with your friend? No problem. The problem is your administration. He's knocking on your door for 6 years without any positive answer. I promised him I'll bring him the permit from you to build this gymnasium. Okay, we'll care for it. You can go in peace. Because he said, no, not like that. I promised him I will not leave your office without having the building permit in my hand. He said, what can I do? I'm the prime minister. He said, sit around the table. Write a letter to your administration in Nazareth and Chacour, where they issued the building permit, and finish with that problem. So Shamir executed, sat around the table, wrote a letter to the administration, Haifa al-Nazar. Please deliver the building permit to Father Chacour immediately, without any question, without any objection, without any delay. And he signed for state reason, the Prime Minister of Israel. I have a copy of that letter. When I saw that copy, I felt so sad. So sad. You know why? Because the Prime Minister signed his letter for state reason. You probably know German. Hitler used to sign the orders to massacre the Jews für Staatsräson, for state reason. I was sorry that the Prime Minister could sign that letter with state reason. I did not mind, I wanted a building permit. Baker was going to the airport with the American ambassador to Israel. Baker said to him, now take this letter and go first to Ibillin, deliver the letter to Arbuna Chacour right now before I fly out. And at 7 in the evening, me, the parish priest of the unknown village Ibillin, the unknown priest, the simplest priest in the world, someone knocked on my door. It was the American ambassador, saying, I'm sent from Mr. Baker with this letter to you. Probably it has to do with your permit. I thanked him, and he went back. So I got a building permit for the gymnasium. We will continue having hope. We'll continue struggling for right, for justice. We will never fight for condemning any human being. We don't educate our children to be vindictive, to believe in violence, to believe in killing, to believe in massacring. And we protest against any war. In every war, there are only two poor losers, no winner whatsoever. And now in the war of Gaza, there are two big losers, Israel and the Palestinians. I hope we will pray and we'll act. We'll ask our congressmen, our senators, to bring the attention of the authorities in Israel to care for equality with the Palestinian Christian schools. Otherwise, in a short time, you'll never see me back again here. I will have no reason to come and ask you to help us to meet our financial help. I thank you for listening. I pray for you. I'm proud of human rights. And I'm thankful for our relation, continued relation together. And my visit here, being it only here, is enough to bear all the difficulties of the travel, to see you and to say, God bless you. We love you. We love America. Thank you. I hope you did not applaud me. I hope you applauded this corner of your conscience, which was moved to say, okay, we'll work for peace, we'll work for justice. And I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arbuna. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for coming. And I just want to reiterate that Arbuna has come not only to share his story, but also as a plea for assistance. The schools that he's worked so hard to create are right in a real dire situation with massive funding cuts. As he's mentioned, the government has slashed all funding to Christian schools and Muslim schools, the Jewish schools.